Good evening. It's been an evening of dramatic developments. Three big stories breaking in the span of last half an hour. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra now suggesting that she may be open to the idea of contesting elections if her party so desires. The Election Commission setting up a meeting to look at whether the Prime Minister's speech today about the satellite strikes, was that a violation of Model Code of Conduct or not? And then the other big story which is broken just a short while back, the move which was described by the government as a game-changing move, as a move which would have completely revolutionized, which would have brought transparency in the way we have looked at electoral funding. Now, according to the Election Commission, electoral bonds, the Election Commission says electoral bonds are anything but leading to transparency. Election Commission in an affidavit before the Supreme Court is suggesting that electoral bonds in fact are promoting anonymity. It can lead to a situation where foreign powers end up contributing to political parties and thereby ending up exerting huge influence on the Indian elections. How is it that a move which was described by the government as a game-changing move, as a move which would have brought in greater transparency, how is it that the Election Commission is now suggesting, literally on the eve of Lok Sabha elections in 2019, that actually this move has got nothing to do with transparency, it is only and only going to promote more opaqueness? Utkarsh Anand, our legal editor, is there on the phone line with us. Let's get more from him. Utkarsh, do I understand that these contours are the exact specification of the Election Commission affidavit before the Supreme Court?
Yeah, Bhupen, that's absolutely right. This is the first occasion when Election Commission has been called upon by the Supreme Court to file its affidavit. Now, this is about a petition which is filed by an NGO, Association for Democratic Reforms, along with the CPIM Secretary, Mr. Sitaram Yechury. And a bunch of other petitions have been tagged along with this. All these petitions have challenged the validity of the electoral bonds on the very premise that this is going to usher in only opaqueness in political funding, and that the government's rationale of accountability is completely fallacious, it's misplaced, and that the Supreme Court must immediately put a stay on any kind of electoral bonds insofar as the upcoming general elections is concerned. Now, central government did file its affidavit the last week. As on expected lines, it justified electoral bonds. It said that it is going to eschew black money, and that despite the persons being anonymous, there will be an audit trail, and that the the details of donations can be made available to a competent court of law if it is so desired. But Election Commission, by filing its central government, did file its affidavit the last week. As on expected lines, it justified electoral bonds. It said that it is going to eschew black money, and that despite the persons being anonymous, there will be an audit trail, and that the details of donations can be made available to a competent court of law if it is so desired. But Election Commission, by filing its affidavit, has now gone on completely against the government. Election Commission says that we had raised these flags long back in March 2017. We wrote to the Law Ministry, but our concerns were not paid heed to. The government did not listen to us. Still introduced electoral bonds. It brought about changes in the pertinent laws, the Income Tax Act, the Representation of the People Act, and also the other laws concerned. The Election Commission tells the Supreme Court that the Supreme Court should now go against it. The next hearing, Bhupen, is now 2nd of April, but the Supreme Court will take up the plea to put a stay for this election.
All right, just hold on, just hold on on that phone line, Utkarsh, because also joining me, former Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. T.S. Krishnamurthy. Thanks very much, sir, for joining us at the top of Viewpoint. Your thoughts, sir? Election Commission now, on the eve of elections, suggesting that this entire move, which was supposed to bring in greater transparency of electoral bonds, is actually leading to opaqueness. How do I read the situation, Mr. Krishnamurthy?
Well, I have really opposed electoral bonds even at the time when they were talking about introduction. It is not at all in favor of transparency. On the other hand, it will increase the election expenditure because more money will be available from various donors, particularly loss-making as well as profit-making companies. So in my opinion, the electoral bonds is not a step forward.
But please explain to me, Mr. Krishnamurthy, here we are now literally in the middle of an election campaign now. All those who would have exercised this process of electoral bond, of contributing to political parties through electoral bonds, am I then to understand that that process, which has already unfolded over the last couple of years, would that process also come under the scrutiny if the Election Commission today is unhappy with that move?
Well, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, it is for it to take a decision. How does it, I mean, assuming that it is not to be implemented, whether it will be implemented prospectively or retrospectively, it's for the judiciary to decide.
But how can we have a situation, sir? My point is, how can we be in a situation where the Election Commission, which is a nodal body for conducting elections, which is supposed to be looking at all these issues related to election expenditure, how can there ever be a situation in India where the government looks at one process of electoral funding and the Election Commission completely disagrees with that view then?
No, please understand that the Election Commission is subject to the laws of the land.
Right.
The Constitution and Representation of People's Act or any other amendment to law, Election Commission is certainly duty-bound to implement it. But it can certainly express its views that it is not conducive for proper financial outlay in election expenditure. And it must go. In my opinion, electoral bonds is not at all desirable.
All right, Mr. Krishnamurthy, let's leave it there. Let's see what the Supreme Court does. Thanks very much to Utkarsh also for giving us updates on that big breaking story. Just imagine the situation. Here you are, literally 2 to 3 weeks away from the first phase of polling, and such a big move which was unleashed with a lot of fanfare by the government, today is coming under the scrutiny of the Election Commission itself, is being described as a non-starter by the Election Commission. But there is another move which is certainly a big starter as far as the government is concerned, and that is India's Shakti mission. India today is a part of a super exclusive club of 4 countries to have developed an anti-satellite system. How is this entire game of developing this new system and that announcement coming in exactly 2 to 3 weeks before the first phase of polling, how is that going to impact the road to 2019? That's a big focus on Viewpoint tonight.
जन धन योजना, इस प्रधानमंत्री जन धन योजना के माध्यम से हम देश के गरीब से गरीब लोगों को बैंक अकाउंट की सुविधा से जोड़ना चाहते हैं। महात्मा गांधी को सबसे प्रिय था सफाई, स्वच्छता। क्या हम तय करें कि 2019 जब महात्मा गांधी की 150वीं जयंती बनाएंगे, हमारा गांव, हमारा शहर, हमारा गली, हमारा मोहल्ला, हमारी स्कूल, हमारे मंदिर, हमारी अस्पताल, सभी क्षेत्र गंदगी का नामो निशान नहीं रहने देंगे।
2022 में जब हमारा देश आजादी के 75 साल मनाता होगा, तब हिंदुस्तान के गरीब से गरीब के पास अपना खुद का घर होना चाहिए। ये संकल्प लेकर के मैं काम कर रहा हूं।
अपना नाम अंतरिक्ष महाशक्ति, स्पेस पावर के रूप में दर्ज करा दिया। भारत चौथा देश है जिसने आज यह सिद्धि प्राप्त की।
Indeed, that's what it has really boiled down to. The Prime Minister believes that the move which has been made by Indian scientists, this Mission Shakti, the new satellite system which has been built by Indian scientists, the Prime Minister believes that this is something which India as a country needs to be extremely proud of. But Rahul Gandhi-led Congress party says that this is nothing else but mere theatrics, that this is just an attempt being made by the Prime Minister, who by the way used the phrase Bharat Mata Ki Jai, Jai Hind thrice at the conclusion of his 15 to 20 minute address that he had made to the nation today. Which of these two slogans that we are now looking at? Mission Shakti, on one hand, being appropriated by the Prime Minister and the BJP, versus Mission Nyay for All, the 6,000 rupee per month scheme which has been worked out for 5 crore poorest of the poor families led by Rahul Gandhi. How is this clash really going to impact the ground realities? What we've done today on our election wall in partnership with Neta app, right through this election season, we will give you answers to all these questions on the basis of real-time data. There was a straight question that we had put up in partnership with Neta app. Which of these two initiatives, Mission Shakti and Nyaya scheme, what is it that's really working on the minds of Indian citizens? And look at the answer. 61% believe it's Nyaya. What that effectively tells you is that while an attempt is clearly being made to inject a certain dose of nationalism, a certain dose of patriotism, and to ensure that national security post the April strikes, post Pulwama terror strikes, national security ends up becoming the biggest talking point. Mission Shakti also being included in that agenda, that 39% versus 61% aggregated number across India tells you it's still the story of economy, it's still the wallet and not the space which is on top of the minds for Indian citizens. We've actually done a whole state-wise analysis as well. I'm looking at key states which were responsible for bringing Narendra Modi to power in 2014. And I want to look at the impact of what has happened today over these last 8 hours since the Prime Minister addressed the nation. How did public sentiment actually change in favor of the BJP or against the BJP? First, the big states. Look at the state of UP. The BJP had got 71 out of those 80 seats. What is the public sentiment there? According to the Neta app, it gives you a very interesting figure. 41% in the big state of UP, which gave the BJP 71 seats in 2014, gave the BJP 40% plus vote again in 2017 in the assembly elections, the third biggest victory in the history of independent India. And look at those figures. 59% people suggesting it's the Nyaya scheme which matters to them more. Let's look at Bihar. The BJP in alliance with the Janata Dal United there. 22 out of those 40 seats going to the BJP. How does the comparison work there? Nyaya versus Mission Shakti, 63%. So the story of UP being reflected in the neighboring state of Bihar as well. Let's go west. Let's look at Maharashtra. Again, a state which was completely swept by the BJP Shiv Sena alliance. BJP on its own got 23 out of those 48 seats. On the first day, when the Prime Minister has made this announcement, 40% Mission Shakti, 60% public sentiment in the state of Maharashtra with the Nyaya scheme. West Bengal, Mamta Didi's territory. What's the reality there? 2 out of those 42 seats, 17% vote share for the BJP, a state where the BJP hopes to make big dent in Mamta's territory. 43% Mission Shakti, 57% Nyaya scheme. What this tells you is this, that this number of 43, for instance, that you're looking at West Bengal, it's only on the first day. On first day, 43%. Could this 43% end up rising to 60% by the time the Prime Minister starts hitting the campaign trail? He starts with this campaign tomorrow. That's the probability that the Bharatiya Janata Party is working on. That's why this Mission Shakti could well end up becoming a big talking point for the BJP on the road to 2019. Just take a look at how the politicians have been sparring. Rahul Gandhi using another cheeky adjective to describe Mission Shakti, and Arun Jaitley giving it back to Rahul Gandhi.
मेरे कुछ कांग्रेस के मित्र खुद की पीठ थपथपा रहे हैं, वो याद रखें कि जब अग्नि 5 लॉन्च हुआ था कि डॉक्टर वीके सारस्वत ने ये कहा, वी नाउ हैव द कैपेसिटी टू डेवलप एंड द डिजायर टू डेवलप एन एंटी सैटेलाइट मिसाइल, बट द गवर्नमेंट हैज नॉट परमिटेड अस।
जब सब कुछ होता लगे, जब राजनीतिक धरातल सरक जाए और जब कांग्रेस की न्याय स्कीम से आपको घबराहट शुरू हो जाए, तो उस हड़बड़ी में कुछ भी करना पड़ता है।
नो क्रेडिट फॉर मोदी, नो क्रेडिट। इट इज द टाइमिंग। ओनली वन सैटेलाइट यू डिस्ट्रॉय, दैट वाज नॉट नेसेसरी, दैट एवरीबॉडी नोज।
So the opposition is leveling a straight allegation against the Prime Minister and the BJP that the BJP is doing all this only and only to win elections 2019. Where do we stand on that question? Let me be straight and let me be direct. The truth is this, folks. the Bharatiya Janata Party is absolutely clear that it wants to contest this election in 2019 on the principle of nationalism, on the premise of national security. What it does, incidentally, is that it also gives the opposition, the Congress Party, the Samajwadi Party, the Trinamool Congress, all the opposition parties get an opportunity to then start questioning the government's handling of the economy. The GDP numbers are being questioned by former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan. There is reluctance to release the employment numbers as well. But when it comes to nationalism, the government is high on Josh. It's a strategy which could end up working to opposition's advantage as far as the desire to set the agenda on the road to 2019 is concerned. That's where I stand. Let's raise the big blunt question and see whether our panelists agree or disagree with my viewpoint on the show. Let's raise the big blunt question. Who's going to be the winner between Rahul Gandhi's Nyay and Narendra Modi's Mission Shakti on the road to 2019? Full panel joining us to answer that question. With us here in our studios, Major General Rajesh Arya, well-known defense analyst, spokesperson of the Congress and the BJP, live there, Salman Sos from the Congress, Narendra Taneja from the BJP, Yashovardhan Azad, former Special Director of the Intelligence Bureau, live with us as well, and Manojit Mandal, representing the Trinamool Congress. Warm welcome to all of you. Taneja ji, let me just begin with you. I'm just looking at the very basic public sentiment, sir. On the first day, when the Prime Minister makes this statement, it appears that in big states, people believe it's the economy, not necessarily the security, not necessarily talk of Shakti, talk of space, talk of Pakistan, which is working on their minds. How should one be reading the situation today? An X factor or an act of desperation being made by the BJP today, Mr. Taneja?
Bhupen, first of all, congratulations to you and through you to all your viewers on the splendid success of Mission Shakti. Mission Shakti, the great success now that India joins the super exclusive club, as you rightly pointed out, have nothing to do with elections or politics and all that. This is a success of every single Indian, of our great scientists, DRDO, and the entire country is celebrating it. And this statement has been, because the success, the magnitude, the sheer size and magnitude of the mission is so big, the Prime Minister decided to personally come on television and convey to the people of India and also people beyond India, because this is such a big success and there is such a powerful message. And he conveyed that as the Prime Minister of Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Prime Minister of Sitaram Yechury, Prime Minister of Mamta ji also. As the Prime Minister of the country, nothing to do with politics, nothing to do with BJP, nothing to do absolutely with the election. So that's what it is. But you see, we have seen the statements coming from other people. They have some issues. They want to express they are different interpretation. In a democracy, they can do that. We have no problem with that. And therefore, with your premise, this has nothing to do with Nyay. Here, Mission Shakti is something the entire world today is talking about, and Nyay is a bluff. So how can you compare the two?
No, but may I counter you, sir, and may I suggest the more I look at Narendra Modi's trajectory, right from his days as Gujarat Chief Minister, I get a sense that Prime Minister Modi maybe is trying to put an aspirational spin on the entire election campaign. Is the BJP of the view that road to 2019 has to be equated with the Congress being described as this villainous/cynical political party which only wants to look at what's wrong with India? Whereas the BJP, as the Prime Minister said today in course of his address, that hame aisa Bharat chahiye jo do kadam aage badh ke soche. Is that the aspirational spin which is the political part behind what we've seen, sir?
No, but BJP, right from the beginning, we have always been about, this is all about our thinking, thoughts, all about aspirational India. We want to make India absolutely the best country on the planet, the superpower. That's our mission and we'll do it. But those people who are suggesting, because Mr. Rahul Gandhi came out with so-called, this Nyay thing 48 hours ago, and in response BJP has come out. I think they don't understand. You think that you can come up with something like that.
He described his day, sir, as a national theatre day. He was accusing you and your party, sir, of getting some national theatre day today. As if this was theatrics.
This shows... No, this shows ignorance. What he doesn't understand, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, we all due respect to him, because after all, he's the chief of a national party, that you can't really prepare or go for such a response in less than 48 hours. This kind of mission takes weeks and weeks, if not months and months of preparation. But evidently, Mr. Rahul Gandhi can't understand these things. So I sympathize with him. But look, as I said, the Mission Shakti is for the people of this country, for the national security of the country, and look at how different countries have reacted, most particularly Pakistan.
Okay.
Now the point here is that this is a great success for the country, and as I repeat, as far as Nyaya Vyaya is concerned, it's just a bluff. People understand, people can see it.
Salman Soz, look at this. You know, the other day, your party was describing the finance minister as a bluff master. Now Narendra Taneja is using the same word to describe your response to Mission Shakti today.
Well, first of all, we should all be happy that we have this capability. Congratulations to DRDO, to ISRO, to the scientists who worked very hard to kind of make this happen. You know, this has been a long time coming. In fact, in 2011, if I recall correctly, there were 5 interceptor missions that were successful. In 2012, the ASAT technology was pretty much developed. In fact, what Mr. Jaitley mentioned about Mr. Saraswat is not fully accurate, because he had also said that our policy is for peaceful use of space technology, and we did not want to do a live test at that time because we didn't want to create space debris which could damage other satellites. That's
but
what
he
Mr.
accuses you of being weak.
Said.
But he was accusing you of being weak. He was accusing you of being weak when you were in power.
No, he was not. That is what... that is what Mr. Jaitley would say, because Mr. Jaitley, by the way, just think about it, Mr. Jaitley, the finance minister, talks about everything, whereas the defense minister seems to be lost in space. But, be that as it may, Bhupendra, whether it comes to the armed forces of the country or whether it comes to our scientists, the Prime Minister will do everything possible to deny them the credit. This is the first time an Indian Prime Minister has not allowed scientists from ISRO or DRDO to come out and make announcements of this nature. This is very strange, but you know, you have a Jawan on the border who's sacrificing his life, who's guarding the border, who's facing extreme hardship, who does the great work for this country, and then the Prime Minister comes and tries to politicize it.
Why should the Prime Minister? That allegation.
This is very shameful.
Let's hear. Just that point. Just that point.
Let me just finish.
Just Salman, because that's an important point. That's an important point that you flag off. And I just want Narendra Taneja to respond to that. This allegation being made, Taneja ji, the Prime Minister, first tweets, then he builds up a hype, then he addresses the nation. Now Salman Soz will say that why should the Prime Minister be addressing the nation? Why couldn't the DRDO scientists have been fielded today? What was the urgency for the Prime Minister to come forward today, sir?
You see, very good question. As Mr. Saraswat has said, in 2012, the country was ready. And they said the country is ready, and he said DRDO is ready to test it. But the permission was denied. So you need a strong, decisive leadership in order to be able to take such hard decisions, in the interest of the national security. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi had guts, has courage, and love for the country. He did that. Number 2, in 2012, Prime Minister that time didn't have guts, didn't have courage, like 2611. Now that's the difference. And why the Prime Minister made this statement? 2 things here. First of all, Prime Minister is also responsible for the Department of Space and Atomic Energy. He is also the minister in charge of that. Number 2, this decision, just last line. The point is, such decisions are not made by, such around, because these are political decisions.
Salman?
DRDO chairman can't take such decisions. These are political decisions. He took the decision and he conveyed it to the people of India.
Let me just...
Yes.
Mr. Taneja has clearly not read the entire statement of Mr. Saraswat. Mr. Saraswat said at that time that we can do all the testing we need through simulations. There is no need for us to do an actual event. By the way, the other thing is, the BJP is dumbing down the national security debate. Right now, there is, if you think about it strategically, what the national interest is there any negotiation going on at the international level that would ban ASAT testing? No. Nobody is talking about banning this. What was the urgency right now, just a few weeks before the election, and then the Prime Minister goes out and creates a
Let me bring in General.
By the way, one more thing. Just one more thing to you, Bhupendra.
Yes.
Bhupendra, you talked a lot about the Election Commission going to the Supreme Court and raising this issue about electoral bonds and saying that these are bad or whatever. And you were saying, how can they do this just 2 or 3 weeks before the election? Bhupendra, what the question we have to ask is, forget the Election Commission, it has a constitutional responsibility. What responsibility did the Prime Minister have to do this when he's himself
Well, by the way,
candidate
the
in this
Election Commission, let me say
that
this.
tells you what
The Election Commission has set up a committee, by the way, Salman, if you didn't know, just before I was coming to the studio, I heard that the Election Commission has set up a committee to look into this angle, whether this was a violation of the Model Code of Conduct or not. But let me just bring in General Arya on that point. Look at the argument. You think it was. No, but then you're the opposition party, you're entitled for that. But sir, this argument being made that this is such a gigantic exercise, massive exercise that has been unleashed today in India. Is it really that big a deal that is being made out to be?
Good evening, Bhupen. You know, Mr. Taneja spoke few issues, I think, which are getting lost in the cloud of politics which is covering our country as on today. And all of us, as a security expert,
yes,
all of us are losing a sight that this is the one election in the country, the national election, which is being held under a sort of a shadow of the clouds of warfare between Pakistan and India, where we are standing today. Ask the security guys who are sitting on the wearing uniform and sitting on the borders. And if you take your mind back, just about 15 days back, we had a major conflict situation where the world is standing to watch where the India and Pakistan are heading. Even today, a couple of days back, I read Mr. Trump's statement that this is a very difficult time. They are watching where the India and Pakistan are
heading. So are you saying the international community would be concerned today?
I see this, whether we had the capability earlier or not, the Prime Minister's decisions to let this go ahead now is not a message for his voters and electorate. It is a message to Pakistan and China, particularly, and demonstrative technology which they need to take note. If you remember that, the USA warned Pakistan to lock their F-16. Pakistan asked Chinese for the satellite coverage of Indian troop movements and the tank movements. China denied it. This is a very subtle message to the world. Mr. Taneja used the word people outside the country.
Right.
Actually, this is a message to the outside world.
No, it may be a message to the outside world, but for sure it's also a message. If you say, you say, General Arya, that that this is about Pakistan and China, then I would say that this will also become a huge political talking point for the Prime Minister, for the BJP.
So there he is not wrong. So that's what I'm saying. There he is not wrong. But if there is a political dividend coming out of this national security action...
But that's what I'm trying to understand. Yashwardhan Azad, is this about national security or is it about security against the Mahagathbandhan in Uttar Pradesh? Is it about security against the opposition on the domestic political turf, Yashwardhan Azad?
Bhupen, thank you for giving me time between this political sparring which is going on for last quite some time. Let me say that this country which is consumed with only cricket and politics, there's something refreshing for a change, and it's one of the most outstanding achievements by DRDO scientists as of date. But I am also of the opinion that such an achievement, which actually belonged to the DRDO, should have also been projected by the DRDO chief. The Prime Minister, as the chief executive, has certainly the right to give a message to the nation, but let it be a short one, and the entire thing should have been explained by the DRDO scientist chief. Now, the second point, which is more germane to the debate, is that how does this stand against the Congress party Nyaya? Let me say one thing, that this Shakti mission does not have that much zing which the Balakot strike had. There's no doubt about that, which made reverberations almost entire all over the country. And in contrast, Rahul Gandhi's announcement of Nyaya was certainly like a thunderbolt, and which has struck deep into the hearts of the country. There is no doubt that when we talk about, of course, we have differing figures of GDP, and that the growth rate is increasing 7% or 8%. Even then, if you have 25 crores people almost shuddering on the poverty line, that here is a very, very bold attempt to sort of get them out of the trap.
Are you saying, Yashwardhan, are you saying that the reason why the Prime Minister, are you saying that the reason why the Prime Minister
the wealth tax
has spoken today
is one of the way to fund it?
Yes, are you
and
saying
that is why?
Yes, Yashwardhan, are you saying
that is why it is very important to see
yes,
that vis-a-vis it makes an impact on the people with Nyaya rather than.
But are you suggesting, sir, that the reason why the Prime Minister took the stage today is because the Prime Minister wanted to counter this Nyaya scheme. Therefore, while the DRDO scientists should have come, the presence of the Prime Minister, should I be looking at the presence of the Prime Minister as a counter from the BJP towards Congress's Nyaya scheme?
Bhupen, there is no doubt. Bhupen, there is no doubt that certainly it is with an eye to politics that both these announcements have been made. But then the merits of each also cannot be discounted. It's absolutely obvious that it is made with an eye to the polls. But today, when a Congress, the fault lies on both sides. If a Congress has made a dent or has made a policy proposal to make a dent on poverty, the Prime Minister has every right to announce the achievement of the government.
That's what
if you have a right to criticize the government on every issue, even sometimes without verification, then the government has the right to also list its achievements.
Monojit Mandal, look at the hypocrisy. Why should I not accuse the Congress party and the Trinamool Congress of being, and all opposition parties who are questioning the Prime Minister's presence? Everyone is complimenting the DRDO. Now, and all of us are saluting our scientists. If we are complimenting the DRDO, if we are saluting the scientists, then what is the problem if the Prime Minister, he's the Prime Minister of the country at the end of the day, why should he not come? Why should he not? If in times of, let's say, extreme diversities, extreme problems, if the Prime Minister comes in, then extreme celebration also the Prime Minister comes in, what's the problem there?
Bhupen, when the MCC is underway, when there is a model code of conduct, you need to follow certain sense of propriety and morality. I mean, look at the way the Prime Minister himself is he was trying to build up the actual theatrical show. That we are again waiting for some kind of surgical strike in the form of demonetization or something like that. He was building up the, rightly pointed, he was building up the atmosphere that he is going to come and announce something very, very big. And then he comes up with something with which he has no technical expertise to do with.
No, but he's the Prime Minister.
He's just the Prime Minister, but mind you,
he's the Prime Minister of India.
Under the watch of the Election Commission of India.
I agree with you.
Bhupen, let me complete.
Yes.
This is not the normal timing. Had it been 3 weeks ago, had it been before 10th of March, no problem. Even though there would be politics behind it, but no problem. But now he is trying to, as it were, hide behind the laurels of the scientists, whom we definitely salute and appreciate, because of his failures, because of all the things that he has been doing for the last 4
now
5 years.
Now we are questioning the Prime Minister's communication.
Behind number one.
Now we are questioning the Prime Minister's communication.
Strike happened before the election.
Now we are questioning the Prime Minister's
presence. In the middle of the election, barely 2 weeks to go, he is trying to come out with
he's
something
the Prime Minister,
which he should have been doing.
But I'm not understanding
the business of the science.
But I'm not understanding this. Salman.
Yes.
One moment. Chitanya ji, one moment. I just want to bring in Salman Soz on this. Salman, what are we talking about?
Because of the timing.
Is it the Prime Minister's
certainly it is questionable.
But the timing, the scientists will decide the timing. The scientists were ready today. The scientists decided to fire it. Now you tell me, are you objecting?
Did not make the announcement.
But the Prime Minister did.
Bhupen, let me come.
But the Prime Minister represents the scientists. No, the Prime Minister doesn't represent the scientists. The Prime Minister doesn't represent you. The Prime Minister.
Because of the timing.
Is it the Prime Minister's
certainly it is questionable.
But the timing, the scientists will decide the timing. The scientists were ready today. The scientists decided to fire it. Now you tell me, are you objecting?
Did not make the announcement.
But the Prime Minister did.
Bhupen, let me come.
But the Prime Minister represents the scientists. No, the Prime Minister doesn't represent the scientists. The Prime Minister doesn't represent you. The Prime Minister doesn't represent me.
He is now under the watch of the Election Commission of India.
What is the problem which is being spoken about?
Out of the model code of conduct.
Salman.
And look at what the BJP people are doing.
Yes.
Later on, Finance Minister was holding the press conference from
Salman, basically, are we objecting to the presence of the Prime Minister? Is that where the problem is for the opposition? Then why is the Prime Minister speaking?
No, actually, there are a couple of things, Bhupen. First of all, this is a matter of great national security. This is a strategic issue. This is not an ordinary issue, right? The question is, one, and we must question the government. That is our job in some ways. Yours and mine. I'm in the opposition.
Of course.
So listen to me. Yes. But please listen to me.
Yes.
Please listen to me.
Yes.
If the argument is that we had to do this to show Pakistan and China their place, fine. If that was an urgent need, fine. Then how would it make a difference if the DRDO scientists and ISRO scientists would actually come and
how do you know they may not speak
say
tomorrow?
to the nation that we have done
How do you
this.
know they may not
We are
speak
ready.
tomorrow?
No.
They may be on it tomorrow.
Let me
For all you know, the DRDO chief scientist is there with the Prime Minister tomorrow. How do we know?
Please let me finish.
Yes.
Let me finish.
Yes.
Let me finish.
Yes.
Over the last 3 days, everybody was talking about the Congress Party's Nyaya initiative. Everybody.
Right.
Yesterday, the Congress president talked about an MSME, micro and small and medium enterprises initiative that is going to be transformative. The narrative had shifted, and I think the Prime Minister and the BJP felt that they had to do something, and instead of the scientists, this is the first time the Prime Minister of the country has actually taken away the opportunity for our scientists who put in so much effort to make these things happen.
Now I'm getting this.
He took that away because during the model code of conduct, during the model code of conduct,
so now basically
he
we're talking about the
came and
presence of the Prime Minister
himself in the middle.
So we are talking about the presence of the Prime Minister.
If the presence of the Prime Minister was...
So if the Prime Minister was not there, then there is nothing wrong. If the Prime Minister was not there, if he had not spoken out today, then there would have been nothing wrong. Then there would have been nothing wrong. Taneja ji? Yes, Taneja ji, please tell me.
If the Prime Minister had... Look, first of all, this is like I said, it is a strategic issue and we must debate that.
Now listen,
but the Prime Minister has not allowed any debate on this because he's inserted politics into it. That's what he does. He takes credit all the time.
But he's the Prime Minister. I'm just trying to understand why the Prime Minister should not be speaking.
Of course he's the Prime Minister. I'm not saying he's not the Prime Minister. I'm not saying he's not the Prime Minister. Of course he's the Prime Minister. But he also has to have a sense of...
He doesn't stop.
Yes, Taneja ji. Go ahead, Taneja ji.
Yeah. Thank you. You see, there are two points. We got to understand we are still in kind of times when Pakistan space is closed for Indian aircraft, for Indian civilian aircraft, for all international airlines. Their airspace is still closed. Why? What's going on there on the ground? And the first country to come out with a reaction, to Mission Shakti was Pakistan. Look at the statement. Look at their language. Look at the language. You see, the point is, and look at the language, I'm sorry to say, I don't want to say that, but look at the language of Congress Party, identical. Now, point I'm trying to make is, Mr. Soos, if you think that DRDO has done it in just 36 hours, in response to,
this is ridiculous.
Can I finish?
Yes,
shouting doesn't help.
Yeah.
Only shouting doesn't help. Let's have a civilized debate.
Yes.
You see, the point I'm trying to make is, Mr. Soos is suggesting, can you tell the
sir, go ahead.
Congress is not Chaurangi street?
Yes,
let's have a civilized debate.
Yeah, go ahead.
You see so Mr. Soos, if you are suggesting, as he is, and he's from the World Bank background, and he is suggesting this has been done in less than 36 hours in response to Nyaya. I'm sorry, Mr. Soos. Government must have taken the decision a long time ago, and when the DRDO was ready, they did it. And the Prime Minister just came to announce it, to share this great news with the people of the country.
But I'm
and
also
to
seeing
send a message
on the Neta app,
the border.
on our Neta app, we're also seeing that there is a difference.
What does it have to do with it?
But Taneja ji, I must also point out that on our Neta app, when we put this question, what is it that matters more to people, this Shakti Pradarshan or Nyaya Pradarshan, Nyaya Ka Darshan, then more people seem to be suggesting that they want Nyaya Ka Darshan.
Let me answer it.
They're not interested in Shakti
Give me 1
Pradarshan.
minute.
Yes.
Give me 1 minute.
Yes.
Give me 1 minute.
Yes.
Give me 1 minute.
Yes.
You see, there is a difference between a very ordinary person, let's say, who doesn't understand what's going on in terms of Mission Shakti in Fatehpur or in Jumri Talaiya. But when Mr. Soos, with his World Bank background, talks like a person living in some remote village with no education, that surprises me. These are the hard ones of the Congress Party. They are not ready to celebrate it. India is celebrating.
You are not ready to celebrate.
1.30 billion.
You are not ready to celebrate because you are worried
Congress is not ready to celebrate.
You are worried Salman Soos. You are worried Salman Soos. Are you worried that despite these numbers, are you worried Salman Soos that this 40% versus 60% which is showing in favor of Nyaya scheme? Are you worried, Mr. Soos, that actually tomorrow when the Prime Minister hits the campaign trail, this 40% figure for Mission Shakti may quickly rise to 70%? And is that the reason why you're objecting to the presence of the Prime Minister today?
No, not at all. Look, when Mr. Taneja says that I'm speaking like some
Mr. Soos, congratulate India.
No, please finish.
Yes.
Please, you finished, let me talk.
Yes.
when Mr. Taneja says that and he talks about me being a World Banker, which I don't really boast about, but he says that I'm talking like an ordinary person, an uneducated person from a village. He's actually insulting all the Indians who are, living in remote parts of this country.
Don't make a fuss.
Who are intelligent enough.
Educated.
Who are intelligent enough. Please don't say. Now you're interrupting and you
I'm
want to
talking of educated, illiterate like you, Mr. Sood. My point is, I'm pointing out to educate illiterates like you. Because just one political point. You are talking like an educated illiterate.
Yes, one by one.
Celebrate it.
One by one.
Mr. Sood, celebrate. Celebrate. Join 1.3 billion.
Yes, Salman. Yes, Salman. Go ahead.
As soon as I start speaking, Mr. Taneja is frustrated.
Go ahead.
Mr. Taneja is frustrated because I caught him insulting Indians, poor Indians who may not have the kind of education they may not be as fortunate as Mr. Taneja and I. He's insulting them. And he's insulting the intelligence of Indians. Please do not insult Mr. Taneja. Mr. Taneja, you were telling Mr. Taneja, you were just
why your language is identical with the language of the
what is wrong with you?
Pakistan?
What is wrong with you? Why
I'll one moment.
Bhupendra, no, wait. Yes. He did not let me speak. This is very strange.
Quickly.
He didn't want to have a Charangi-style debate, and he's himself creating a Charangi-style debate.
Complete your point.
The point is, I think the BJP is insulting the intelligence of the people of India by trying to scare them into believing that Pakistan, a much smaller power, is going to in any way threaten us. We're a much bigger power. Our armed forces are fully capable of taking on Pakistan. Now,
Mr. Sood, what are you
talking about?
Pakistan?
The people are laughing at you. India is a much bigger power, and you're so frustrated. You're so desperate.
You are saying Pakistan is wrong.
Pakistan is no threat. Pakistan is a small power. India is a much bigger power.
How can you speak on it?
That's why I'm saying. I'll hold both of you. Yashovardhan Azad is coming in. Yashoji, this political sparring. Is the real germane question today just this, that because the Prime Minister ends up speaking and the Prime Minister ends up, addressing the nation, therefore the opposition is now suddenly crying foul that why was the Prime Minister there? I'm trying to argue why should the Prime Minister not be there? But the Prime Minister of the country, and if he believes that this is a momentous occasion, the Prime Minister wants to make a statement. Why should we be taking that credit or that liberty away from him then?
I totally agree with you. As the chief executive of this country, the Prime Minister has every right to announce the achievement of the scientists. Of course, the issue is that the Indian politicians, like Indian panelists, also speak much longer than they should. And that is why I thought that the Prime Minister should have merely announced, given the message, given congratulations to the DRDO scientists, and after that, the DRDO chief should have given the nitty-gritty details about India's success and joining the superpower club, which is a very, very ethereal club. But let me get back to the point which is germane to your debate, and I think it's a very critical debate, whether the Nyaya scheme is an important one like a thunderbolt, and how does it contest
that's what I'm saying, sir.
Against the Mission Shakti?
That's what I'm looking at. Again, my producers can put the numbers up. We can look at the numbers and look at in all big states which were strongholds of the BJP in 2014. In Uttar Pradesh, again it's tilted in favor of Nyaya. In Bihar, it's tilted in favor of Nyaya. In Maharashtra, it's tilted in favor of Nyaya. In all big states which were swept by the BJP, on the first day, mind you. So we must add a certain dose of circumspection there that we're talking of this on the first day. The Prime Minister is supposed to hit the campaign trail tomorrow. We don't know. We don't know how the situation will change. Vejan Rare.
Bhupen, I think it is my personal opinion. I'm not a politician.
Yes.
At a national level, we are comparing two different things. I won't say you can't compare apples with the oranges. The Nyaya is totally a Indian voter-centric or a poverty-centric issue.
Right.
Whereas Mission Shakti is totally a national security at a very highly strategic issue.
But at the attempt, the Congress and the opposition parties are saying that the attempt is to use national security on the political terrain.
It is just a matter of, I won't say coincidence that we are into an election. I think it was required at this particular time, and there are political dividends coming out of it. There is no doubt about it. Whenever you achieve big, it's a big victory.
No, is it coincidence, or are you saying this is a planned situation?
No, it can't be planned. I'm 200% sure. I have taught.
So it's not.
I have taught missile warfare. I have taught space warfare.
So it's not as if the scientists would have done today, because first phase of polling is coming in 2 weeks from now.
But we need to read seriously. Why did the Prime Minister have to come and announce? It is not for the
Indian. With that?
Yeah, no. I have no problem.
Prime Minister's presence.
Prime Minister's presence was for the international,
the international community.
International community, not for his local community. I fully agree with both the politicians that it doesn't affect the local population or the local voter.
Would you concede that, Manojit, that the Prime Minister's presence, as much as you disagree, why was the Prime Minister there? There is a message that the Prime Minister's presence is sending, whether it's to China or to Pakistan or Bangladesh or any hostile country.
The Prime Minister was not only present, he was announcing this, achievement. When the model code of conduct is there, that is the point that we are trying to make out here. Okay. He would be present, the scientists would be announcing DRDO chief. Mind you, this is an autonomous body. And there is a chief, there is a head of DRDO.
Right.
He could have made the announcement in presence of the Prime Minister.
Yashoji.
The Prime Minister is trying to make it a poll campaign
issue. Does it look like a violation of model code? Does it look like a violation of model code of conduct for you?
Yashoji. One more point. It was being followed up by a press conference by the finance minister from the BJP party office.
That's politics.
He was defending the whole issue.
That's politics. Yashoji.
Yes, of course.
Is this a violation of model code of conduct? Should I be looking at this as a violation
of India?
Yes, Yashoji.
Can I?
Yes, Yashoji, go ahead.
I have a very serious problem with the code of conduct defined by the Election Commission. Should the entire nation be paralyzed while the elections are being done? Should everything should be stopped? Can an achievement like this cannot be announced by a Prime Minister?
That's what I'm trying to understand.
Logically,
why should
if the
Prime
opposition
Minister
has the right to criticize the government, and sometimes on unverified
if there's a threat from Pakistan,
why should the government have the right to enlist his achievements?
If there is a threat from Pakistan, that threat is not going to come down because of model code of conduct. That threat from Pakistan is not going to come down because of model code of conduct. I mean, threat is not looking at model code of conduct, Manojit Mandal.
Bhupen, when there is even a single achievement of any government with the Chief Minister's photograph is being removed by the Election Commission of India, any regular, achievement schemes, whatever in every state of the country, if that is being removed by the order of the Election Commission of India, simple schemes here and there in every range of the country, then what is wrong in when the Prime Minister
on the road to 2019?
And mind you are not going to hand Pakistan out with the Shakti mission day after tomorrow.
Tomorrow when the Prime Minister goes to Meerut, is this going to be the biggest talking point? Sanjay, final question to you.
National security is only one part of nationalism. We don't believe in this kind of virtue of nationalism as is being propagated.
Yes, Sanjay is speaking. Last question. Yes, Sanjay.
You see, I have Bhupen, I have no problem with the Congress and the Trinamool. They have their own views on that. No issue with that. It's democracy. They are entitled. They can say whatever they want. But you see, when it comes to national security, whether code of conduct or no code of conduct, Cabinet Committee on Security can meet. They can take decisions like they did today, and Prime Minister can announce. Election Commission are also set up a committee, that's fine. But CCS can meet and such decisions can be announced. And such decisions can be announced.
10 seconds.
Yes, Salman.
On national security, we are fully behind the government, the armed forces, our scientists, and we should celebrate whenever our scientists do something great.
Question the Prime Minister's presence.
But at the same time, the country faces the questions. The Prime Minister takes credit. The BJP takes credit from our armed forces, from our scientists, and that is wrong.
Let me thank all of you. Let me thank all of you for joining us on the point. I think our Neta app figures today give us an interesting conclusion. The truth is that maybe people are indeed looking at basic bread and butter issues. Maybe they are looking at economy. Maybe they are looking more at Nyaya. But the truth is also this, that when a momentous occasion is evolving around you, is unfolding around you, why should the man who's been chosen to be the Prime Minister of the country, why should that person not speak on behalf of the country? I think is a question that the opposition must answer. Politics or otherwise, if the Prime Minister was convinced that this was a momentous occasion, I think he's fully entitled to come and address the nation. On the other side of the short break, the other big story which has been breaking, Priyanka Gandhi